There is a version of your life that you have never lived, and you miss it. Not in the way you miss a person, not in the way you miss a place. You miss it the way you miss something that was supposed to happen but didn't. A future that felt so close, so real, that some part of your brain still believes it existed. And if you have ever caught yourself staring at nothing, feeling a strange grief you cannot explain, not for something you lost, but for something you never had, then what you are experiencing has a name, and it is far more common than you think. You probably remember the moment, a decision that seemed small at the time, a university you almost attended, a city you almost moved to, a job you almost took, a conversation where you almost said yes but said no instead. At the time, it felt like one option among many. But years later, your brain went back to that moment and quietly started building. It constructed an entire alternate life on the other side of that decision. It gave that life detail, texture, emotion. It imagined who you would have become, what your mornings would have felt like, what kind of person you would be right now. And here's where it gets psychologically strange. Your brain did not file that alternate life as fiction. It filed it as something that was taken from you. And it does not announce itself with drama. It arrives in the most ordinary moments. While you are driving somewhere you have driven 100 times before, and a thought appears from nowhere. While you are lying in bed, not quite asleep, and your mind quietly builds an entire evening inside a life you never entered. While you are watching someone else do the thing you almost did, and something heavy settles in your chest that has nothing to do with envy. It is older than envy. It is grief, dressed as wondering. Your brain did something it was never supposed to do with that old decision. It did not just store the memory. It finished the other story. It took the road you did not walk and walked. It for you invented the apartment, the morning routines, the version of your face that belongs to someone you never became. And then it handed that entire invented life the same emotional weight as a real memory, the same warmth, the same sense of loss. Psychologists call this counterfactual simulation, the brain's ability to model events that never happened and respond to them emotionally as if they did. But the name makes it sound clinical. What it actually feels like is standing in the middle of your own life and being homesick for somewhere you have never been. And your nervous system does not know the difference. It grieves the simulation exactly the way it would grieve reality. But here is the part that changes everything once you see it. That alternate life your brain built, the one you return to in quiet moments, the one that makes your actual life feel slightly insufficient, that life was edited before you ever received it. Think about what your brain put inside it. Purpose, clarity, a sense of arrival, mornings that meant something, the feeling that you had finally become the person you were always supposed to be. Now think about what your brain removed. It removed the boredom, the Tuesday afternoons that feel like nothing. It removed the specific loneliness that arrives with every path, including the beautiful ones. It erased the doubt, the restlessness, the days when even the right life feels ordinary. It deleted the version of you sitting inside that other life, looking out the window, wondering what would have happened if you had stayed. Your brain gave you a highlight reel, and then it asked you to compare that perfect, curated, untested fantasy against the full, uncut, unfiltered weight of actually being alive. That was never a fair comparison. It was never designed to be one. You are not grieving a real life. You are grieving a life that was never allowed to disappoint you. And once that becomes visible, something quietly shifts. Because most people believe they are mourning a specific path, a career they did not take, a city they did not move to, a version of themselves standing behind one different decision. But when you look closely, honestly at what you actually feel in those quiet moments, it is rarely about the path itself. What you are mourning is something older, something much harder to name. You are mourning the feeling of open possibility, the moment right before the decision was made, when every option still existed, when you had not yet become someone specific, when every version of your life was still available to you. What you miss is not the life you didn't choose. What you miss is the version of yourself that still had every door open. And the grief is not really about the past at all. It is about the slow, wordless recognition that with every passing year, identity solidifies. You become someone, and becoming someone anyone always means quietly releasing everyone else you could have been. So the next time you feel that strange ache, that grief without a source, that homesickness for a place that never existed, understand what is actually happening. Your brain is not showing you a life you should have lived. It is showing you a life it was never honest enough to finish building. The version you mourn has no bad days, no ordinary afternoons, no moments where you sit inside that other life and wonder about this one. Maybe the thing you are grieving is not the life you never lived. Maybe it is the last remaining part of you that still believes one different decision would have changed everything. And maybe the strangest part of being human is not choosing wrong. It is making peace with the fact that the unlived life will always look more beautiful because it is the only one that never had to be real.